Good morning and welcome to another Breakfast with the Vicar with me, the Reverend David Perry. Let me start with a riddle. Out of the eater something to eat, out of the strong something sweet. What does it mean? You may have seen it on a food can, reinterpreted as out of the strong came forth sweetness. Have a think about that one. Have you been watching the satellites fly overhead? These are the Starlink satellites that have been flying over in the last few days. It's now April the 22nd, 2020, and there are dozens and dozens of satellites all streaming past in a line like cars on a motorway, all put up there by the staff, the very clever staff of Elon Musk's company SpaceX. Well, these satellites are an amazing sight to watch as they stream by in their unnatural progression across the night sky, and it reminds me a bit of the unnatural light that must have led the wise men to the birth of Christ. Perhaps, though, that was more like the planet Venus, which is also incredibly bright in the west in these spring evenings. Of course, if you don't go out and watch the night sky from time to time, then you're missing out on something truly beautiful. Go out and have a look. It gets cold, so put a coat on, put a hat on maybe, and go and sit outside and chat to a family friend or a neighbour across the fence, or just your dog or cat. And have a look into the sky. It's fascinating to see the stars and the planets and these satellites. But I digress. I like to look up at the satellites that Mr. Musk is putting up, but I don't like them. Do you remember decades ago when we started making plastic bottles or mass producing cars or plastic bags, and now we are trying desperately to clear them up? Well, here we have SpaceX chucking satellites into space, and even, and this is truly disgraceful, one of Mr. Musk's old cars. He has apparently sent one of his old cherry red vehicles on a spaceward journey, and it's off towards Mars. It's about 180 million miles from Earth at the moment, on its way to Mars. Brilliant planning, isn't it? And I'm sure something that will no doubt give great fun and amusement to any generations of future astronauts who go to Mars as they try to predict its path and dodge it, lest they crash and die. The first recorded road traffic accident in space, no doubt. Personally, I regard what Musk is doing as somewhat thuggish, boorish even, tantamount to space fly tipping. But that's just me. I seriously fear that he is taking great liberties with something which is not his, the cleanliness of space. But no one asks me. Musk himself is probably an enemy of God as well. He believes science and religion cannot coexist, which is odd, because I think they do quite well. He also claims to be a philanthropist, but from what I've seen, he seems to give pennies from his own fortune of billions, but I guess if you want pennies, pennies are well received. I do wonder as well quite how SpaceX managed to do what no nation can. How can they, as a private body, do what America hasn't been able to do in 10 years? Well, there is no doubt he is a great man, a great mind, and he will be destined to go down as one of history's greats. Good luck to him, I say, and well done on the satellites. I myself am far more humble. I have no desire to put satellites into space or indeed to go there myself, nor do I have the means to go there if I wanted to, of course. But I do have a desire to help other people and to make the best of this life for me and mine that I possibly can. When Jesus came into this world, the first thing he did was to find his disciples. He must have had friends, of course. As a boy, he would have played and fought with other children in the neighbourhood, just as you and I did. But they were friends, and when he started his ministerial career at the age of about 30, he needed disciples, followers. These people were called to change their lives, their jobs, their names even, in order to follow him. Change was inevitable, and it made them think. Change makes us go places and do things we might never have considered before. It can be hard, yet it can be so enriching as to be hard to see why we didn't do it earlier. When I was made redundant from a job last September, a job I had done for over 20 years, I was truly devastated. I was grieving for friends I had lost, workplaces never to be seen again, and for the money, of course. But over the course of a few weeks, something started to sink in. And eventually I had to admit to myself that the last few years at that job had been simply awful. I hated it in the end, but I would never have left it, never in a million years, because I loved my colleagues, I loved where I worked, and I loved the money. So now I start again. Now I am forced into a new job, a new life, a new set of colleagues and friends, and less money. And you know what? It's enriching and exciting. Like the disciples, I have no idea really where this is going or how long it will last, but for now it is good, it is wholly good. Being shocked into something new isn't always bad, although it feels like it at first, but there is a silver lining. There is good in all things. Remember the riddle that we started with? An Old Testament man called Samson, he of the hair and Delilah fame, he laid that riddle on the Philistines in Judges chapter 14. Out of the eater something to eat, out of the strong something sweet. On his travels, Samson had to kill a lion, something that was otherwise going to kill and devour him. Or when he came back some time later, he found the same carcass, and it had nicely rotted in the sun, but a colony of bees had taken up home in the lion's carcass, and honey flowed from it. From the eater, the lion, came forth something sweet to eat, the honey. I hope you see the analogy. From all bad things good can come. That's God's work. God does not promise to keep us out of bad things. He promises to get us through them, though. With God's help, we can extract good from any situation. Elon Musk's satellites might be space rubbish in my view, and his car might be a crash waiting to happen, but for now they do look very beautiful. As I start my new job and a new life, I hope I'm drawing something good and rich from what was bad and draining. I'm meeting new people and new challenges, and life feels good again. Brothers and sisters, friends, I hope that as this year progresses and the bad things come their way, you too can look deep for the good and sweet. That is the promise of Jesus. Follow him and you'll change. You'll have to, but that change will ultimately be very good for you. All blessings to you, my friends, and seriously, all blessings to Mr. Musk as well. Or perhaps he would prefer me to say, live long and prosper. Till we meet again, friends. Bye-bye.